if you think about like a mountain climber's journey, if they got to the bottom of a mountain, looked at the top and said, man, how am I ever going to do this? This is too much. I don't think anybody would ever climb mountains, but you just take it one step at a time. You set a plan and you're one step at a time. Even when it's hard, you're one step at a time. When it's easy, you're one step at a time. And as long as you don't stop, you'll get to where you're going.
Welcome to the Evolve Podcast, an open forum on personal growth and cultivating a positive mindset. I'm your host, Joe Fitzpatrick. Today on the show, we have Will Brooks. Not only is Will Brooks a jacked vegans fitness coach, he is also an explosive mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu fighter with a heart of gold. In addition to helping vegans burn fat and build muscle, Will helps his clients build powerful mindsets to strengthen their willingness to crush their goals and make progress in their lives. His mission in life is to help people turn their weaknesses into strengths, while also advocating for plant-based lifestyles and compassion for animals. Let's go. Will Brooks, you're a jacked vegan coach. You also do jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts, right?
Mainly jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I have dabbled in mixed martial arts, but mostly just jiu-jitsu.
How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu practice?
I've been doing that for six and a half years, something like that now. I'm a third degree purple belt under Helson Gracie. So before that, I wrestled. I've been wrestling since I was 14. So it's in my bloodline. My dad was a wrestler. All my mom's brothers, my uncles were wrestlers. So my brother was a wrestler. Now my brother's actually a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He got started a little bit before me.
Sick.
Well, that's interesting. Actually, we got started at the same time, and I was too focused on chasing girls and partying to really give the attention it deserves, and he stuck with it. So I took a long break. I'm back into it now, full swing. So it's interesting how that stuff plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can relate to that on being more focused on chasing girls and partying in the past, and sort of reprioritizing my life later on to what I'm doing now, and having that evolution of my personal growth journey. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But how old are you approximately?
Approximately, I am 38 for another 7 more days.
Okay, sweet. Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit younger than you. I'm 35, but we're, relatively close in age.
Yeah.
Good to know. When were you born?
1983, August 29th.
Are you a Taurus or Aries?
I'm a Virgo.
Okay, cool. I'm usually in the Taurus camp, but sometimes I'm on the borderline between Taurus and Aries. How long have you been vegan?
Vegan for 4.5 years. It'll be 5 years this winter.
Right on.
Late
what
winter.
Was the prompt that changed your lifestyle and your perspective on becoming plant-based?
And that is the question. So when I met Marki, my wife, she was vegan, and she was never forceful with the idea of becoming vegan, but she would drop knowledge on me here and there. And and to be honest, I never really liked eating animal, like meat, essentially. When I was a kid, my mom would prepare chicken. I didn't like it. I've never been, a big steak guy. It's just not something that's ever interested me. Like, to me, food has always just been numbers, right? But I never made that animal connection to it. So once she came along, she's like, well, what would it take for you to go vegan? And I told her, I'm like, if you find me a protein based food that has similar macronutrients to grilled chicken, I was like, I would try it. I bet I could probably go vegan, because I'd given up dairy a long time ago. I never eaten seafood. I was one thing, like that's where I drew a hard line in the sand. I just couldn't get behind it. It just didn't sit right in my stomach. And then the other meats was basically, I was putting up with those options just because I thought that's what I had to eat to build muscle. I had no idea, So she's schooling me and teaching me these things. And it was right around this time that I had hurt my spine. I started it was the beginning of a bad injury in the gym doing heavy barbell lunges. And then I had gone to jiu-jitsu and I got stuck in a front headlock, and the guy went to wrench and try to whip me to the ground, and it popped. It actually ruptured the disc between C5 and C6, and it impinged my spine by 22 millimeters. I lost function of my left arm. I could barely walk just because the vibrations that would come up my body would cause such immense pain that I wasn't able to muscle it, right? So I ended up getting surgery. And right around that time, right before the surgery, I was dealing with a lot of like elbow pain, tennis elbow, shoulder pain, tendonitis type stuff. And here I am thinking, all right, well, maybe this is the break that I needed, right? This is the break from working out in jiu-jitsu that I needed to let my joints catch up. I had no idea it had anything to do with what I was eating. So I took my 3 months off while I healed and while the fusion set in my neck. And once I was back, the doctor cleared me to work out. I was like, it was relatively quick. Like within a week or two of working out, all my pain in my elbows and shoulders came back, and here I was thinking like, this is the break I need. I'm going to be good to go now. And it wasn't. It was because I was eating a lot of foods that cause inflammation, which is animal-based products. Right. And right around that time, now my neck is killing me because I've got metal in it, and I just wasn't healing the way that I thought I was going to. It was a struggle. So here's my wife, the angel that she is. She starts educating me about how, plant-based food options are really great for inflammatory response. It's anti-inflammatory, essentially. So I was like, you know what? We've already been talking about this forever. I'm just going to try it. So I started off, I went full in on the vegan journey, and within like 2 weeks, all my joint pain was gone, like including the pain in my neck, which to me, it was like a miracle.
Yeah.
And even the fact that my elbow pain had disappeared was a miracle. And I find out later in life, actually relatively recently, that I have bone spurs in my elbows just from how active I am with, like, I used to do powerlifting, bodybuilding, jiu-jitsu. So any kind of inflammation is going to be a little bit more worse for me than it is for someone else, just because there's bone spurs in there. So man, so I went vegan, and within 2 weeks, all my joint pain, my neck pain was gone, and I was just able to start building up muscle. And before I knew it, I was at where I was as a meat eater. And then you continue to put time on top of that. And, a month or two down the road, like I'm starting to hit PRs with this metal in my neck. I'm like, what is going on? This is the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And it was right around then I decided, I'm going to share this on social media. I think there's some value here, because there's guys like Nimai Delgado who've never eaten meat. And then you've got a lot of people who transition directly from their meat-based self to their vegan self. And people will say, well, you just held the muscle you made as a meat eater, right? Now I'm kind of almost like a mixture of like the kind of guy that's never eaten meat and a guy who transitioned directly, because I shouldn't say I'm a mixture. I'm more unique because I lost all my muscle mass in that 3 months it took for me to heal. And when I built myself back, if I wasn't getting enough protein, there's not any amount of muscle memory in the world that's going to save you. Right.
Right.
So it was right around then that, I was fully in on the vegan thing. And then once I was doing that for a significant amount of time, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it fully. And I want to understand the animal ethical side, because my wife has always been more of an ethical vegan. So, and as I told you earlier, I'm not a big fan of gore. So how I would deal with movies like, I believe it might have been Dominion, or some of these other movies that'll show the atrocities that happen in animal agriculture, I would just look away. That's how I dealt with it. I would just be like, I can't see this. I don't want to look at that. Makes
Not
me scared.
uncommon. Yeah. Yeah.
So I started forcing myself to watch,
Right.
and once I forced myself, I was like, this is absolutely horrendous. And not only from like an animal side is it terrible, but for the environment, it's horrible. And there's a lot of health drawbacks, negative side effects from eating, all that animal-based food. So yeah, once I made that connection, it was just kind of like a snowball down a hill, and it just built on itself. So, I try to tell people I essentially went vegan for selfish reasons, for health-based reasons. But from there, I was able to build a foundation. And now, the animals and the environment, those are all things that are a part of my foundation to keep me going.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I relate to that as well. It started as primarily motivated by health reasons. There's some great documentaries out there that promote plant-based lifestyles, and one of them is called Food Choices. It features interviews with doctors as well as athletes who have a plant-based diet, sort of a predecessor to Game Changers. Are you familiar with that one?
I am.
Yeah. And from that foundation that I built of having the research behind it, and like the information about how plant-based diets are much more alkaline and less inflammatory than meat-based or animal byproduct food in the standard American diet. And I was a very active runner at the time, and I was looking for ways to improve my health and be able to have more endurance. And it sounded like plant-based diet was the solution to that. So I became very receptive to that. I started doing more research, as I prepared to transition from that diet to a plant-based diet. I didn't really have a lot of muscle mass on me. I was definitely a lot heavier than I am now. That strength, building that strength for me, has been a journey as well, and still very much on that journey. But it's been really cool seeing the changes that I've been able to make over the years. But it's all started with that like documentary, and having that sense of willingness to, change my diet. And I think that helped set me up for so many other successes down the road, from not just running further, but running my first marathon. I've done an ultra marathon since then. Been doing some like longer bike rides, and also getting into strength training over the past couple of years. I also was able to quit drinking alcohol. That was a major game changer for me, especially having struggled with alcohol abuse and just making poor decisions, when I was drunk. I learned so much more about the benefits of the plant-based diet, for the environment and for animal welfare, like you mentioned. And it just checks so many boxes for me in terms of, creating a more sustainable, better place for all beings on this planet. And the fact that it can make you healthier and look good at the same time is just the added benefit to it.
That's no brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you said you were doing like wrestling and bodybuilding and powerlifting. I'm assuming that was when you were not vegan, right?
Yeah, a lot of that a lot of that happened probably. So I was wrestling. I started at 14. And I wrestled past high school. I was actually supposed to wrestle in college, but again, focusing more on partying and chasing women got in the way. So I would do recreational tournaments of the sort, and then I would do bodybuilding and powerlifting for fun.
Do you still do any bodybuilding or powerlifting?
I would say, man, I do a mixture. So I guess you could say I do power building at this point. Like I still like to develop my strength. I want to be a physically strong individual. My main athletic focus is jiu-jitsu though. So in jiu-jitsu and bodybuilding, or jiu-jitsu and powerlifting, they don't exactly complement each other. So, I'm sure that if I gave up bodybuilding completely, I'd be better at jiu-jitsu. And if I gave up jiu-jitsu completely, I'd be bigger as a bodybuilder. But they're two passions of mine. And I just do my best to, I guess, combine them. Like I said, they don't complement each other, but there's ways that you can make them work with each other. They can get along, I guess you would say.
For sure.
So that's what I do.
Do you do any jiu-jitsu competitively?
Yeah, so the last time I competed was before my spine surgery. And I took bronze at the IBJJF Chicago Championships. So awesome. I traveled cross state, did that, and then ended up hurting my spine, as we talked about earlier. And I was a little bit hesitant on competing. It's always been in the back of my mind. I actually might step back onto the competition circuit in October. So I'm just trying to, I want to do it. I just don't know that it's worth it, especially with, with my injury in the past. And I train at different schools. I have my main affiliation with Helsing Gracie, but I'll go to open mats elsewhere, and I never get hurt. But it's a different animal when you compete. You're going against guys who may be, fighting for that sponsorship that's going to put food in their child's belly, or food in their family's refrigerator. So some of those guys will. It's not a friendly role, as you would say, right? And I'm financially, I'm doing very well, and I don't want to do more than I need to do. I love competing, and there's a giant part of me that wants to get out there to do it, but I don't know if it's completely worth it at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It is a lot of risk, but with competitive sports and like full contact sports like that, there's always some level of risk to it. Also knowing who you're fighting would have a major role in the level of risk versus reward for that too.
Absolutely, my man. Absolutely.
Yeah. So is Jacked Vegans your primary job right now, other than the media content?
It's one of the hats that I wear.
Yeah.
I do many different things. Mainly because I just like to stay busy, but I've been doing coaching with them for a while now. There is, I make money from various avenues from social media. I own a photography company called Wilbrooks Wilbrooks Photography. And we do everything from senior pictures to weddings to dog shoots to whatever you want, right? I'm everything but like naked pics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm also a jiu-jitsu instructor, so I'm certified to teach police and military the Gracie survival tactics system. So that ends up to be, that turns out to bring in some money from time to time. And then I've also just been big into investing. I've done some real estate. I've had some luck on the stock market. I've bought in crypto before and done fairly well with that. So I got my hands dipped in a few different things, but looking at probably doing a little more real estate. We might be looking to get into the Airbnb market. which could be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool, man. I like to have those multiple streams of income coming in. I think the one I'm most passionate about is probably the jacked vegans. I love my clients. I love working with people. Seeing their I love seeing their transformations and how, you know, even their energy from the very beginning when they turn in their day one pictures to their last pictures of the 6 month, like you can just see it in their face. Their energy is different. Their confidence is different. And that is a really, really satisfying feeling. And I really thrive off that. So I do put a lot of effort and energy into that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to, right? Like you're giving your clients that positive energy so they can give it back to you in return. I'm sure that is just super thrilling to, have those regular interactions with people who are actually, trying to make those steps to change their lives and having you help them, like guide them through it. And
it's nothing like it. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you said like you got to like do a lot of different stuff, like wear different hats, have multiple streams of income, especially being self-employed. I'm sure that provides, at least some more stability, because with, so many different businesses, you don't know necessarily if like one of them is going to be more successful than the other. So just having more options just helps to build that income even more. And also builds like your experience in all those different areas too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's your workout routine look like these days, like between your jiu-jitsu and your strength building?
So I run a 5-day weight training circuit, and then I combine that with a 4 to 5 day jiu-jitsu circuit. If there's ever a day where I'm supposed to go to jiu-jitsu and I can't, I will do cardio on my climber that I have. So essentially I train 6 days a week and I have Mondays off. So today's my rest day. Right. So tomorrow I'll dive back in with a chest and abs workout. And I probably, if everything goes well, will also go to jiu-jitsu class and sparring tomorrow. And then if I ever that's the base. And I try not to go too far beyond that because I know it's a lot for the body to take, but I do love functional training. I have a 500-pound tractor tire that I love to roll, flip. I've got a 20-pound sledgehammer that I'll hit the tire for reps, and that is an incredible workout. But like I said, I try not to overdo it because I'm already doing a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go backwards.
Of course. Do you do any mobility work as well, or like, yoga for helping with your flexibility?
I'd love to get into yoga. I really would. I just need to create more time for that. So the extent of my mobility work is I stretch after jiu-jitsu. Sometimes I stretch at nighttime before I go to bed. Or if I don't make that happen, I'll stretch in the morning when I wake up. That cold stretching where the muscles aren't warmed up though, I mean, that's just me trying to make an effort, right? Because sometimes I'm so on the go. If I sacrifice anything, I will sacrifice my mobility work. And I know I just need to create a time slot for it, which is it's the goal. It's the goal.
Yeah. Not every day is perfect, but it is to set that intention and schedule it in if you can, for sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
I live and die by my calendar. Like it is definitely something I feel like I could do more of, like, setting aside 15 minutes for stretching, or something like that. But it does help me to stay like prioritized and on task with what I got to do during the day.
Beautiful thing, man. I need to take a chapter from your book.
Hey guys, brief pause in the episode to tell you about some of the great businesses that support this podcast. First, we got Weight Train. Use code EvolvedPodcast to get 10% off all Weight Train and Athleticity gym gear and apparel. No matter what you need for your workouts, They have the gear to help you get it done. And if you don't see something you want, email them at team@weighttrain.com and they will take your requests for new products. Visit Weight Train for all your gym gear needs. Next is True Nutrition. Use code EvolvedPodcast to get 5% off all nutrition supplements. I'm personally a fan of their soy isolate vegan protein powder, available in a variety of flavors and strengths, from light to heavy. They also have non-vegan protein powders if that's not your thing. I personally recommend the cinnamon bun and toasted coconut flavors in the heavy strength, and I add them to waffles, oatmeal, protein shakes, and ice cream. They're delicious. Check out their wide range of supplements at affordable prices that are third-party tested and verified for content quality. They are able to provide such great prices because the supplements come direct from the manufacturer without any marketing gimmicks or fancy labels. Visit truenutrition.com to supplement your workouts and your nutrition. Last is Hate Brand Goods. Use code EvolvedPodcast to get 15% off all Hate Brand clothing and accessories. Their goat shorts and shirts are the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn, and they have the coolest designs. However, their clothing drops are only available in limited quantities, so get your favorites while you can, and be on the lookout for other drops that you're stoked on. Visit thehate.com, spelled HVIII, for clothing to remind the world that you're not dead yet and you're ready to kick today in the dick. Back to the show. What's a project that you're currently working on or recently finished?
Project. I mean, we've always got projects. Well, I'm currently, not that it relates to vegan fitness, I'm currently editing a wedding shoot that I did, a fairly large one. As far as the vegan fitness fronts, I have just been really concentrating on improving the quality of the content that I'm putting out onto social media. So I run my Instagram account. I also run my TikTok account, but the TikTok account is mostly just body weight workouts, tutorials. Sometimes I'll throw a motivational video in there. The Instagram I use more for cinematic videos with motivational messages, vegan messages, motivational vegan messages, a mixture of all of it. And I've really put in a lot of effort at improving camera equipment, improving, editing software, taking the time to learn certain editing tricks to make my videos more appealing. And I've actually can say that I'm happy with the content that I'm putting out now, because for a long time I knew it needed work. It was just like you put out a video and you're like, this is good, but it could be better. This is good, but it could be better. And now I'm finally getting to the point where I'm like, oh, I hit that one on the head. I hit that nail on the head, square on the head, and that's a really good feeling.
Absolutely. And, to your credit, like the videos are very cinematic, and I think like the music and like some of the text that you pair it with, like the copy that goes into like the scripting for the videos, it's really cool and very impactful. So I agree with you. You're doing great, man. And like with filming the videos and like editing them, do you like work with a team or is it just you?
Just me.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I love that even more. Like, do you have like your camera like set up on a gimbal, like get some like panning shots or a slider or anything like that while you're filming?
Actually I do have a gimbal. It's sitting over here behind me. But the lens that I just picked up, it was a G Master lens by Sony. It's I believe it's 20 to 70 millimeter. It's too heavy for the gimbal to handle. So, but this lens produces such clear, crisp, like colorful shots that I am actually waiting to get either a more powerful gimbal. I've also looked at sliders. I've also even looked at remote control, like drone cars that'll drive on the ground. Now, I have a Skydio drone, which is nice because you can set it to lock onto you and it'll just follow you on autopilot. It'll avoid
Yeah, I
obstacles like
want one
trees.
so bad. They're so sick.
Yeah. Let's see. This guy right here, Mike Skydio. I've actually lost. This is my second one. My first one I had out in, where were we? We were in the wilderness somewhere. I can't remember specifically the trip, but I was flying it out over the river, and there was a bug in the previous versions of these that if you fly it above water that's like glass, there's not a lot of ripple to it. It just like dive bombs into it. Like shorts out, and I lost control. It dived into the river. And I'm with all my buddies. I stripped down to like my underwear, swam out there because I spent like $1,500 on it.
Yeah,
right?
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, the river was, I think, like 30 feet deep, and there was a current at the bottom that I couldn't. It was not only very dark, but the current was very strong, and the water was very cold, so you couldn't hold your breath for very long. It was like the perfect storm. So I let it go, and I emailed Skydio. They actually sent me a new one. I'm sure they. So the controller will record everything you're saying, and they run their investigation. They're able to pull footage right before the crash, and I would have paid good money to hear my voice as that was going.
Yeah. That'd be a great video.
Yeah, man. But I'm definitely a camera nerd. I definitely run a lot of video content from my tripod. Yeah. Because a lot of times I don't have someone to shoot for me. Every now and then my wife will shoot for me. Every now and then I'll have a buddy at the gym who is grown accustomed to filming for me because I show him what to do. But for the most part, I just shoot in 4K and I'll set it up on a tripod, and then I can zoom in on the image and I can actually move the image around so it looks like there's camera movement. And because it's 4K, yeah, and because it's 4K, you can zoom it in and not lose any resolution. So that's a trick I'll do. I'll even do like zooming in shots. It looks like I'm walking. It looks like the cameraman is walking up to the subject. It's really just the image getting bigger.
That's a good tip. I like that. Yeah, good to know. How long have you been doing photography? Is that something you got into when you were younger, or is that a newer development?
No, I've been doing photography for, maybe a decade, 10 years. So I wouldn't say, I wasn't like something I picked up as a kid, but about a decade or so. I didn't monetize it until I was doing it for about 3 years. And that's when I started doing little shoots here and there for friends and family. And then people started catching wind. I'm like, oh, I could turn this into a stable income, I think. So I opened up my doors to weddings and all kinds of different, like real estate shooting and everything. So it blossomed into something that works well for me. I like photography because I can be creative with it. I can have fun with it, and now I can make money from it. So it's been a nice addition to my life. You know, they say you need an activity to keep you fit, keep you creative, and to make you wealthy. And I think that I definitely check the creative box with the photography company.
Arguably, you're doing all three, with the same stuff that you're doing now with Jack Vegans and, building your own brand. Like, it's awesome, man.
It's great, especially, with my wife in school.
Yeah.
I'm financially supporting both of us, and it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing to be able to experience, a level of financial freedom that I didn't have before when I was working 9 to 5s. It's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you make that transition out of working 9 to 5s to more self-entrepreneurship?
It's kind of like jumping from the nest and learning to fly on the way down.
Yeah.
Thing. I was a waiter for a long time. I worked in retail for a little while. I had worked in construction for a little bit. I think it was just at one point I started, like very early on, I started buying used cars, fixing them up, and then selling them for a profit. And that's kind of when it clicked. Like, okay, I don't need a 9 to 5 to make my money. I can, as long as I apply myself, I'll be fine. And when I stumbled across social media and realized that I could, monetize from social media, it was just a matter of being okay with putting myself out there, being okay with knowing that people are going to judge you no matter what you do. And I had a couple of people in my corner that I had spoke to, my wife included, where I was like, I want to do this, but what are my buddies going to say? What are people at the old job going to say? Like, and it was like weird how I cared so much about others' opinions. Right. And that was something I've gotten away from. Being an entrepreneur has really helped me, and amongst other things, it's helped me to not put so much value in others' opinions. I learned to put value in my own action taken. And it doesn't matter what this person thinks, because if I do A, B, and C, I enjoy it and I make money from it. Why does their opinion matter? Their opinion doesn't put money in my pocket. And it doesn't take money from my pocket. So why would I ever care? Right. So a lot of realizations happen along the way, but it's just, that snowball effect. One thing leads to the next. You have to be, I think, okay with putting yourself out there. You got to put your neck out there a little bit, and you got to be able to take action, and you have to keep going when it doesn't work out. I still have, social media posts that bomb and don't do well. I still will buy, a horrible stock and nothing happens with it. I'll still make a poor decision when it comes to real estate investing, but that's part of the process. And I try to tell my coaching clients that mistakes and slip ups and things of that nature are only lessons to make you better. So you can't be, that was another thing I learned. You can't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, you're going to make mistakes, and you can either quit or you can learn and get better. So I try to make every opportunity to learn from my wrongdoings. I try to learn from others' mistakes. So I think if anybody out there is looking to do it, you just got to take that step and jump, and then you'll figure it out on the way down. You will.
When did you transition from doing just photography to incorporating more video? And is that something you offer to your photography clients as well?
Well, yeah, I do offer that. Now, big events like weddings, it's too much. Like, I would have to subcontract a videographer, or I would do the videography and subcontract the photographer, because they're two different animals, and it's just a lot to do both at the same time.
Yeah.
So I started getting into video. I got into photography first, and then, funny enough, I started to feel interested in starting a YouTube channel. And I was watching a channel on YouTube by a guy by the name of Peter McKinnon. You may have heard of him.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's a big camera guy, does a lot of tutorials. So I started kind of watching his stuff to learn how to shoot videos. And it all started off with just wanting to put together quality videos on YouTube. And from there, eventually TikTok became a thing. And then now Instagram wants to compete with TikTok. So if you post a picture on Instagram, it's not going to gain a lot of traction. You got to post a reel. So now you got to get good at those 5 to 30-second videos. That range seems to do well for me. So reels have been a way for me to practice that art of videoing, because I have gotten away from YouTube for the time being. I'm just a little bit busy for that.
Right.
I would like to make it a priority, because I love shooting travel vlogs. Like, my wife and I last summer went to Cape May, New Jersey, and we shot a really fun vlog for that. And I had a lot of fun shooting it. I had a lot of fun editing it. I think I just need to become a faster editor, or hire someone to do my editing for me. I've had some experience with a couple editors who were kind of unreliable. So I was trying to do it all on my own. And that really told me that I just need to find someone reliable, because if I could just shoot the content and then send it out to somebody, I could probably pump out an episode a week.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
yeah. So that's where that came from. I mean, I definitely love videography almost as much, maybe even as much as photography, because there's just so much you can do with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got into photography when I was in high school, and I started developing a photography business while I was in college. And it's something I've always enjoyed doing. But, video on social media became much more prevalent in like 2016, 2017. It's only gotten more prevalent with TikTok and, the rivalry with Instagram now. But yeah, I sort of pivoted towards making video content, and it's been really cool to like learn about all of the film production processing and getting more involved with post production. And I used to work off like some like rinky-dink editing platforms, and now I primarily edit in Adobe Premiere Pro, and I've learned to use like DaVinci Resolve as well. There's some really great software out there to create these videos. And like, what do you edit in primarily?
Yeah, Premiere Pro.
Yeah, it's the way to go. The whole Adobe Creative Suite is just so impressive, and there's such great tools to use, as a creative individual.
You can do so much with that. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the editors of the Avenger movies are all edited in Premiere Pro.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
if
Sick.
that gives you an idea of the power it has. I
Yeah.
I run in a MacBook Pro, a
Uh-huh.
relatively new one on my Premiere Pro, and sometimes it gets a little bit bogged down, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I just want to run a lower resolution in the inside the software, if I want to beef up my computer. That'd be my only complaint. Is sometimes it gets a little bogged down, but
Yeah.
dude, I've tried other things. I've tried other formats for editing, and Premiere Pro just makes sense to me. I know so much, and I've learned so much about it. Like, I'm in deep with Premiere Pro
Oh yeah.
now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
At a
don't
certain
want
point, you become too invested, and it's hard to make the switch to another platform for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, when you're in a creative slump, what do you try to do to get out of it?
So I try to listen to what my mind wants. So right now I'm really into making the cinematic motivational videos, but it's only a matter of time before I'm not going to feel like doing that anymore. And I just try to, what I like to do is I like to start with a song that I like. So I'll either look on musicbed.com, or I'll flip through reels on Instagram, or I'll look through the suggested song lists for reels and Instagram, and I will just scroll and with songs until one touches me in some way or another. And from there, I've always been good at like almost building a movie scene just from hearing a song. Like, this would be a really cool scene with this song playing. And normally, if I'm in a creative slump, if I catch a song that makes me like, I like to look for ones that give me some kind of a physical response, whether that's like goosebumps on my arm, or I verbally am like, ooh, I like this, like something like that, where I get a physical response. I know I'm onto something, and then I'll try to picture a scene that would make sense with that song. And normally that's how I come up with stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure like having specific visuals in mind helps you sort of connect to the lyrics of the music, or like just the general tone of it even more.
Yeah, and I like to use all the little toys and trinkets. I like to use the lens filters that make the sun glare pop in your videos. And sometimes I'll use smoke grenades, for the background. And I have like a mist filter that I'll use. And then I use LUTs, and I use overlays, and all, like, get yourself, it's like a toy chest of editing tools, and you can really turn a boring video into something that's beautiful to watch. I
Mhm.
mean, if you think about some of these like nature shows that are on Netflix, or some of these underwater shows that are on
Mhm.
these documentaries, if you take out all the editing, all the flashy stuff of it, it's just plain underwater footage. I don't
Right.
know that it'd be that great to watch, but once they spice it up and they clean it up and they edit it out, even without words, you're just like, this is amazing. Like, look how beautiful this is. And you can do that with your own videos. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And like the tools now are so much more accessible. There's even great editor apps you can get on your phone, and
Yeah,
at affordable price or for free. Like there's just so much more options now, even the ones like built into the apps themselves, in TikTok, like you have so much more editing options than you used to see. And it's super cool how like creativity is being tapped into in that way. And like the content that's coming out on TikTok right now is like mind-blowing. Technology has come a long way for sure.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What does your morning routine look like each day?
Morning routine. So I probably, if I'm going to be completely transparent with you, I probably hit my snooze button about 5 times.
Hey, it happens, man. I try
It's pretty,
to avoid it
it's about
too.
as honest as I can get right there. It's every morning pretty consistent, but once I'm up, I like to drink a liter of water. Then I'll
Nice.
get into the bathroom and as I'm brushing my teeth, I'll do affirmations. I'll do, I'll think of my goals for the day. Uh, I want to actually get into journaling my goals for the day. I have a goal list written out that I review every morning and every night. But if I journal that every day, it's just another way to get it in front of my mind a little bit more effectively. So I'll probably start journaling out my goals instead of just reading my goal list. And then once I'm all cleaned up in the bathroom, I head out to the kitchen and I normally will play from my phone. I'll either play something that puts me in a good mood, so maybe some comedy. I've been really into like Theo Vaughn lately. That dude's
Yeah.
hilarious. Or I will play more like positive affirmations, and I'll just listen as I make my breakfast. And I've been really big into waffles and pancakes lately.
Oh yeah.
Protein pancakes, protein waffles. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sit down with, I'll have my content that either inspires me or makes me feel in a good mood, and I'll eat my breakfast. I'll take my vitamins, and then from there, it's either a matter of getting work done or it's going to the gym and knocking that out, and then coming back and getting work done.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is nice that you have that flexibility. I know it, of course, it varies day by day based on like client calls you got to take and whatnot, but
yeah,
at least you have some flexibility where you can prioritize work or working out first, as the day is calling for.
absolutely, man, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any habits that you practice that help you to stay productive, remember new ideas, or add value to your life? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, so I a long time ago heard that if you work from home, it's a good idea to leave some shoes on, put some shoes on, because if you're sitting
Yeah.
around barefoot or in your slippers, you're a little bit more comfy, you're a little bit slower to hit your tasks. So I find that if I have like a pair of indoor tennis shoes, it I will get more done. It really works for me. I also love me a good dry erase board checklist. And I love that you can erase it and change it every day. That's why the dry erase board is so valuable to me. And then really, I like to get into like a creative or like a flow, basically. So once I get my breakfast done, I get my morning routine done, I got my shoes on, I'll check my checklist. And once I can just kind of seclude myself to my work area. I can get into a flow. And if I can get into a flow, I can almost always stay in a flow, that flow state. So that's always going to be my goal. But the shoes and the dry erase board are very big for me.
Good tips. I haven't heard those before. I mean, I of course am familiar with having a dry erase board, but the shoes thing, that's new. I dig it.
Give it a try. You might like it. It works really well for me.
Yeah, definitely. And it would make taking my dog outside to go on walks so much easier to not have to like put on shoes every time and
Yeah,
save a little bit of time there too. You have a dog, right?
I do.
What kind of dog is your dog?
She is a border collie / Brittany Spaniel mix. I actually adopted her years ago. I was driving down the freeway, and she was at that time when I initially found her, she was probably the size of like a little bit bigger than a football. She looked like a little grocery bag, a white grocery bag tumbling down the road.
Oh,
And when I realized it was a puppy, I pulled off behind her so that no one could, almost like the block the lane. It was the emergency lane, but I pulled in behind her, and I ran down the freeway in the emergency lane, and I just yelled, "Hey puppy, hey doggy," and she turned around and sprinted right into my arms. And I was like, "This is insanity! Like, how did you even get out here?" So I took her to the local shelter, and they're like, "Yeah, she's healthy." Sometimes people just abandon their dogs, or it's unlikely that a puppy was able to evade someone. It probably happened on purpose, which is horrible. They're like, if no owner comes and claims it within 3 days, you can adopt. So I waited. I checked on her every day. All 3 days, I stopped up there to say hi to her. She was always super excited to see me. And on that third day, they were like, "Yeah, no one's claimed her." So I took her home, and she's been mine ever since.
what's her name?
Her name is Bella.
Oh,
You want to come say hi? She's sleeping. I just woke her up. She looked at me like, "What are you doing?"
I love it. Yeah, we got our dog a year ago. We rescued her from a shelter as well. She got out from her previous owner's house a few times, and the last time they didn't reclaim her, so they put her up for adoption, and she's been with us ever since then. We
That's
love her.
awesome.
We love her very much. Yeah, I definitely encourage everyone to adopt if they, can. If you're not looking for that particular breed, or at least, you are open to a different breed of dog. Um, Especially if you love pit bulls, there are a ton of pit bulls and pit bull mixed breeds out there that need good homes. So good
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. Go adopt.
Yeah. What are some ways that you practice self-care in your life to give yourself more energy to focus on your personal growth?
I definitely think focusing on getting enough sleep is one
Mhm.
of those. That's my kryptonite. I was diagnosed with insomnia when I was 14, and sleep has been a constant struggle for me. If I were left to my own devices, I'd be up till 4 a.m. every night, and then I'd probably sleep till 11 a.m., noon,
Yeah,
like I'm a teenager still.
right.
So I try to practice good sleep habits to give myself that self-care. Not always the best at that, but it's a work in progress. I also think giving yourself some off time. I like to reconnect with nature. Like I said, I grew up in Montana. My first camping trip was in the mountains with my dad, and I've been in love with the outdoors ever since. Um, Funny enough, tomorrow I'm actually taking Bella, just me and her, out to this really secluded, hard to get campsite out here, all right next to Lake Erie. It's like right on the water, and it is like I'm pretty sure it's reserved out like a year in advance. And I found it. I like to cruise the website every now and then, and I saw they had a Tuesday open, and I snagged it up. So tomorrow will be kind of a self-care day. We're gonna get out. We'll go hike some trails together. I'll take her down to the lake. She'll swim. I'll probably swim with her.
Hmm.
We'll spend the night together out in the woods, make a big fire, and just reconnect. Reconnect with Mother Nature. It's going to be really good. So, and then I think if I could, I would like to say being physically active with jujitsu and my weightlifting, my exercise is another form of self-care because it gives me something to chase. It gives me something to feel good about. And if I don't get it, I feel like I'm missing something in my day, right?
Yeah,
So for a lot of people, it's work, and it is work, but I like that about it. I like that, it's hard enough that not everybody can do it. That's, otherwise you'd see everybody would look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Like, if everyone could do it, everyone would do it. But to
right.
me, it's definitely a form of self-care.
Yeah, and it's cool how the more you do at a certain activity, if you really enjoy it, if you're getting something positive out of it, you will crave to do that thing more. And
Yes.
that's the body's way of adapting. It's something that can become addicting in certain ways. For some people that could be negative, but in a lot of ways it's positive, like because you get like that lifting high or that runner's high or whatever it is, like that kick of adrenaline you get as a result of releasing those endorphins and
Yeah.
moving your body. As humans, like we're designed to move, we're designed to be active, and I think that's really where that all comes from. Just putting us more in alignment with our like higher purpose of how we're supposed to be living, rather than these sedentary lifestyles that we've become so accustomed to in our modern society.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. We're gonna move towards wrapping up, but we have a few recurring segments on the podcast, starting with our mindset moment. What is a quote or tip that you use that inspires you to keep going and stay positive despite personal hardships?
One of my all-time favorite quotes is "Small steps climb mountains." I love that because if you think about like a mountain climber's journey, if they got to the bottom of a mountain, looked at the top, and said, "Man, how am I ever going to do this? It's too much." I don't think anybody would ever climb mountains, but you just take it one step at a time. You set a plan, and you're one step at a time. Even when it's hard, you're one step at a time. When it's easy, you're one step at a time. And as long as you don't stop, you'll get to where you're going.
Absolutely. When I ran my first marathon, I kind of freaked out after I finished the first half. And, I wasn't sure if I could do it, but, I had to tell myself, like, you can do this. You've done a half marathon already. You could definitely put one foot in front of the other. Even if you have to walk more than you wanted to, you can still finish this thing. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I did. I ran as much as I could, but I walked some too. And it was more for me about finishing the distance so I could tell myself, like, I did that, like I can do that. And like I said before, it just set me up for further success because I did push myself outside of that comfort zone, and just took it one step at a time. And that's really all it takes in any endeavor, whether that's starting your own business, whether that's starting a new workout like routine, or a new diet. And I'm sure you have similar advice for your clients that you work with Jack
Oh, yeah.
Keegan all the time as well.
Absolutely, man. Definitely.
Yeah. Next is PMA Warrior of the Week. Who is someone who inspires you to keep a positive mental attitude?
Can this be anyone?
Yeah.
I'm going to say my wife, Marki. She's under an incredible amount of stress with the overwhelming amount of work she gets in this master's program, and some of the absolute crazy tasks that she has to perform in the ER with running A lines and intubating people. And she's able to come home and she still takes care of the animals, and she takes care of me. She meal preps for me, and she's always very smiley and bubbly and sweet. And she's got her Hellraiser side too, but she she's just an angel, right? I mean, she does so much. She's incredibly smart, and she stays positive no matter what is going on. She's got an incredible amount on her shoulders right now, and it's not even a lot of it's not even something I can help her with. It's because her school is just so crazy. So as she's able to maintain a good positive mindset, a good attitude, she still handles her business like a true professional. And every day I see it, I feel inspired.
That's amazing. And good for her that she can handle all of that, and also, be there for you to support you and your goals too.
Yeah, she's an impressive person. She's got a photographic memory, and she's incredibly intelligent. And it's impressive. To put it lightly, it's impressive.
Yeah. And on the topic of like meal prepping and foods, the last segment is called Good Food, Good Mood. What's one of your go-to meals that helps you to feel your best?
Oh, that's a good question. Makes me feel my best. So we're not talking about my favorite meal like pizza. We're talking about a good meal, like a good healthy meal.
It could go either way, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely, leaning more towards something that helps you feel better, whether that's, just a good mood, for some people, like sweets put them in a good mood. Whereas, it can be more of the, nutritious variety.
I gotta say, I mean, I've got several that put me in a good mood, but a good bowl of overnight oats with protein powder and berries and chopped up banana with some ground up cinnamon and maybe a little bit of maybe some syrup or some agave in there. Oh man, and you mix it all together with some almond milk. You leave it in the refrigerator all night. That next morning, that's like one of the best breakfasts ever, and I always feel really good after that.
Do you heat yours up or do you just eat it cold?
So if I were to go downstairs right now and make protein oats, I would heat that up, right? But
Yeah.
when you do, have you ever made overnight oats before?
I have before, but it's been a while.
Yeah. So all you're really doing is the only thing you're doing differently from making regular oatmeal is warming it up. So the drawback is you have to leave it in the refrigerator overnight so that the oats can become saturated with the liquid and everything. So if you leave it in the refrigerator overnight, by the time you get to it, it's nice and fluffy. And I will eat that cold. It's almost like a dessert to me at that point. It's like a cold dessert, and it is so good.
Yeah. I mean, I love oatmeal, and that's definitely one of my go-to breakfasts with, some plant-based protein powder added in. But I don't know. I don't know if I could like eat it cold necessarily. Like maybe I would pop it in the microwave for a minute or two if I made the overnight oats, just because it's nice to have that like savory, warm, meal to start the day. For me,
I bet you if we ever hung out, I could make you some overnight oats that you would eat cold. I've got it down to a science.
Hey man, I would try it. I would try it for sure.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's all the questions I have, man. Lastly, where can people connect with you if they want to follow along with you or connect with you on your journey?
Absolutely. So basically everything that I'm on is going to be some version of Will Brooks Official. So Instagram, you can find me there. That's just Will space Brooks space official. Actually, I'm sorry. That's YouTube. Instagram will be all one word, Will Brooks Official. And then TikTok, it's will.brooks.official. So you can find me on those three. You can also email me at will@jackvegans.com. And other than that, don't be a stranger. Reach out on whatever platform you like. I do my very best to answer everyone's direct messages. So you send me a message and I don't get to you right away, I will get to you.
All right, sweet. Thanks for your time, Will. Great talking to you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our podcast. I hope you got a lot out of it and it was helpful for you in your personal growth journey. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so on your preferred podcast provider. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Stay blessed and keep the PMA. Later.